The SWAT team arrived within minutes, but the shooter had vanished without a trace. No footprints, no shell casing, no surveillance footage. Just a single hole in the living room window and a terrified Olivia Harris holding a briefcase like her life depended on it. Which, in a very real sense, it did. At the police station, Olivia sat across from Detective Voss in interview room 3. Her hands were still shaking, her lips dry. "I've been holding on to this for 4 years," she said quietly. "But now I know they'll kill me if I don't give it to someone." She placed the briefcase on the table and pushed it toward him. "Open it," she whispered. Voss clicked open the locks. Inside, tightly packed in manila folders, were original case documents, internal memos, and surveillance records dating back to 2002. As Voss flipped through them, his jaw tightened. This is more than just blackmail," he said. "These are death orders, covert kill authorizations signed by someone in the Justice Department." Olivia nodded. "And Victor Malone was the one executing them. He had a team, ex-military, off the books. They called it Operation Delta Shadow. Anyone who became a liability to certain politicians vanished." "Where'd you get these?" Voss asked. "I worked on a digitization project back then, scanning old sealed archives for the county. They accidentally gave me access to a locked federal folder. I downloaded it to my drive before the system flagged the breach. Next day, my supervisor was found dead in a car crash. And you kept quiet. I had a daughter to raise. I couldn't go to the FBI, I didn't trust them, so I stayed invisible." Voss leaned back. "Well, you're not invisible anymore." Meanwhile, in a luxury penthouse overlooking the Chicago skyline, Victor Malone stood before a glass wall, sipping whiskey. He was older now, with silver hair and the cold presence of someone who had seen war in too many forms. Beside him stood a younger man, muscular, clean-shaven, and dressed in a black tactical jacket. "She's talking," the younger man said. "I expected she would," Malone said calmly. "That's why I sent the warning shot first." "What now?" Malone turned toward him. "Now, we end it clean. No more warnings. She dies. The detective too." Back at the precinct, Voss had already called a confidential meeting with Morales and 2 trusted officers. Only 4 people in the entire department would know about Olivia's testimony. "We're sitting on a ticking bomb," he said. "If these files are real, and I believe they are, this could be the biggest scandal since Watergate." Morales scanned a document. "Look at this. Judge Raymond Keegan. He ruled against a private prison contract in 2007. Found dead 2 weeks later. Declared suicide. But this memo says he was marked as a Level 3 obstruction, execution authorized by Malone." "And James Ritter?" one officer asked. "He got too close to the truth," Voss replied. "He filed a FOIA request 6 months ago for military-linked contractor expenses in Illinois. Then he found Olivia's name. That's why he was killed." Voss slammed the file shut. "We need to move Olivia to a safe house, and we need to find Malone before he disappears." By nightfall, Voss and Morales had moved Olivia and her daughter Ava to a secure location in rural Indiana. A small cabin owned by Voss's retired uncle, surrounded by woods and without cell coverage. But the silence didn't last long. Just after midnight, Olivia awoke to a strange sound. Footsteps outside the cabin. She rushed to the living room, where Voss was asleep on the couch. Before she could wake him, the power went out. Everything went black. Voss jumped up, gun in hand. "Get down," he whispered, motioning her to the floor. A red laser flickered briefly through the window, then vanished. "Thermal scanner," Morales said from the other room. "They've got eyes on us." Suddenly, a flashbang exploded through the front window, followed by 2 armed men in tactical gear. Voss fired first, hitting one in the shoulder. The second attacker launched forward, grappling with Morales. Olivia screamed, grabbing her daughter and hiding under the dining table. The gunfight lasted just 40 seconds. When it ended, one attacker lay dead, another bleeding and unconscious, but Morales had taken a bullet to the leg. "Stay with me," Voss said, applying pressure to the wound. They tied the remaining attacker to a chair and called for backup via a satellite phone. "What the hell is going on?" Olivia cried. "They found us. Someone on the inside tipped them off. We're not safe anywhere, are we?" "No," Voss said. Not until Malone is in cuffs or a casket. Back at headquarters, Morales interrogated the captured attacker. He was tight-lipped, clearly trained, but one name slipped under duress. Rivers, he muttered. She's the one who paid us. Who's Rivers? Voss demanded. Congresswoman Nancy Rivers, Morales said. She used to serve on the Homeland Security Committee. The pieces started falling into place. Rivers had been a rising star in Washington until she vanished from the spotlight 5 years ago. Now it seemed she had re-emerged behind the scenes, using Malone as her enforcer. We need to go federal, Morales said. This is bigger than CPD. No, Voss replied. We go to the press. He reached into his coat and pulled out a USB stick, the digital copies of the files. If we die, this still gets out. Detective Marcus Voss knew they were running out of time. Victor Malone wasn't just some rogue ex-cop. He was a tactician, a ghost with government roots. And if the files were accurate, he had killed at least 15 people to cover up the truth. Now, Voss had the proof, and that made him a target. They left the cabin at dawn. Olivia, her daughter Ava, Detective Morales, with her leg bandaged tightly, and Voss himself, all piled into an unmarked SUV. Voss had called in a favor from an old contact in St. Louis, an independent journalist named Darius Cole, who ran an underground news outlet called The Republic Wire. By noon, they were driving along Interstate 55, and Voss was on the phone with Darius. You still have that secure line you used during the election leaks? Always, Darius replied. You got something? Worse than anything you've ever seen. I'm sending you files. He clicked the transfer, sending all Olivia's files to Darius's encrypted server. If I go dark, Voss said, you publish everything. You got it. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Congresswoman Nancy Rivers sat in a private office within the Capitol building, her eyes fixed on a satellite image displayed on a laptop screen. A red, blinking dot tracked the SUV along I-55. How much time? She asked. An hour, maybe less, Malone's voice came through an encrypted call. Make it look like an accident. No survivors. Back on the road, Voss noticed the same black SUV appearing in the rearview mirror every few miles. We're being followed, he said. Morales loaded her weapon. How far is the meet? 28 miles, Voss replied. We make it to Darius, we win. We die before that. The files vanish into obscurity. Voss took an exit toward a rural detour, hoping to throw off the tail. But the black SUV followed, closer now. Too close. Suddenly, the black vehicle accelerated. A shot rang out. Their rear window shattered. Down, Morales shouted, pulling Ava and Olivia to the floor of the SUV. Voss swerved the vehicle onto a gravel road, tires skidding. He turned hard, heading toward a wooded area. We're going to lose them in the trees. The chase became a blur of twisting turns, gunfire, and snapping branches. Finally, Voss slammed on the brakes and everyone bailed out of the car, running into the woods. They scattered. The gunman followed. Olivia clutched her daughter's hand and ducked behind a fallen tree. Her heart pounded in her ears. Across the woods, Voss flanked one of the attackers, catching him off guard and disarming him. The man lunged at him with a knife, slicing across Voss's forearm. Voss headbutted him, grabbed his pistol, and fired twice. The second gunman came from behind and tackled Morales, who was barely able to stand. As he raised his rifle, a single shot rang out. Olivia, trembling but determined, had fired from the handgun she had grabbed from the SUV before running. The gunman collapsed. Silence. Birds fled the trees. Everyone was alive. They regrouped, bloodied, bruised, breathless. Voss looked at Olivia. You saved her life. Olivia nodded, still in shock. I wasn't going to let them take her, or any of you. By nightfall, they reached Darius Cole's safe house just outside St. Louis. It was an old converted barn with reinforced walls, a private server room, and backup generators. Inside, Darius was already working on the files. You weren't kidding, he said, eyes wide. This is real. Federal kill orders, falsified suicides, embezzlement. Jesus Christ, you have direct ties from Malone to over 6 elected officials, including Rivers. She paid for the hits, Voss confirmed, all covered up as accidents. Journalists, judges, whistleblowers, all silenced. Darius paced. I'll need 24 hours to verify everything. But once I do, this goes global. We don't have 24 hours, Morales said. They already found us twice. Darius looked at the files again. What if I push a teaser article first? Just enough to spook them. Let them know this isn't going away. Do it, Voss said. That night, the Republic Wire published a teaser headline. Exclusive. Files link ex-cop to covert killings. U.S. officials implicated. The article didn't name names, but it was enough. The internet lit up within an hour. Thousands of shares. Conspiracy theorists activated. Whistleblower forums reignited. The story was alive, and Rivers panicked. The next morning, Malone received the last order of his life. Kill Harris. Kill Voss. Burn everything. But Malone didn't respond. He was already watching the news, and he saw something that changed everything. In the teaser image from the Republic Wire, he saw a document he had written 10 years earlier, his own signature on it. And now, the whole world was watching. He knew there was no coming back. Victor Malone stared at the screen, his fingers frozen above the keyboard. His name, his signature, was now part of an international storm. Twitter was trending with hashtag Delta Shadow, and conspiracy forums were exploding with theories, screenshots, and deep dives into his past. Some were accurate, many were not. But it didn't matter. His face, his name, and his crimes were now public domain. For the first time in years, Victor felt something foreign. Fear. He picked up the phone and called the only man who could help him disappear forever. I need an exit, he said. A pause. They've already published the first drop, the voice on the other end replied. It's over, Victor. Number I can still fix this, if I kill them now. There's no fixing this, the voice said. The contract is terminated. You're on your own. The line went dead. In St. Louis, Voss and Morales were meeting with a local federal prosecutor who had been monitoring the media surge. His name was Robert Lang, mid-40s, sharp-minded, with a reputation for chasing big fish. You understand what this means, Lang said, flipping through the copies of the files. If this is real, and I believe it is, we're talking about treason, organized murder, state-sponsored conspiracy. We need protection, Voss said. Not just for us, for Olivia and her daughter. I've already contacted the U.S. Marshals, Lang replied. But it's not enough. If Malone or Rivers still has access to rogue units, we could be dead in hours. What about arresting Rivers? Morales asked. Lang shook his head. She's in D.C., surrounded by lawyers, Secret Service, and a closed circle of immunity. But the moment we leak the full files, officially, her protection dissolves. Darius Cole, still typing furiously, turned around. Then we need to release everything now. Names, photos, audio, every line. Total data drop. No, Olivia interrupted. They'll go after Ava. I know what they're capable of. Darius looked at her gently. They already are. But if we hold back now, we're just waiting to die. Voss nodded. He's right. We hit them all at once. No room for denial. And so they did. That night, the Republic Wire released the full leak. Over 1,200 pages of documents, including internal kill orders, government expense trails, surveillance photos, and confidential audio recordings of Congresswoman Rivers authorizing a containment program. The files also revealed bank transfers from private military contractors to shell companies under Rivers' husband's name. Within 4 hours, the world changed. CNN, Reuters, and BBC picked up the story. Hashtags like #Delta Shadow Files and #Rivers Gate took over social media. FBI Internal Affairs launched an emergency investigation. Protesters gathered outside the Capitol. Rivers disappeared from public view. And Malone? He ran. At 2:12 a.m., Olivia received a message. I'm coming for you, one last time. She showed it to Voss. He's not going to stop, she whispered. No, Voss said. But neither are we. Using federal satellite triangulation, Lang and his team traced the message's origin to an abandoned industrial site on the outskirts of East St. Louis. That's where he'll make his last stand, Morales said. It's his kind of place. Quiet, no surveillance, lots of exits. Then we corner him, Voss replied. By sunrise, a joint task force of U.S. Marshals, St. Louis PD, and FBI agents surrounded the building. Voss, Morales, and 2 SWAT officers entered through the east loading dock. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence. Then, gunfire. Malone had barricaded himself in a central control room. Tripwires, motion sensors, and C4 surrounded the entrance. I expected better from you, Marcus, Malone's voice echoed through the intercom. You turned soft. Come out, Victor, Voss shouted. You're done. The whole world knows who you are. I'm not done, Malone replied. I'm just going out my way. He stepped into view, wearing full tactical armor, face calm, rifle in hand. But he didn't fire. I did what was needed. You think the country runs on honesty and elections? Number it runs on control. I gave them that control. I protected this nation. You killed Americans, Voss said. Innocent people. They were threats. I removed them. A beat of silence. Then Voss lowered his weapon slightly. So am I a threat? Malone smiled. You always were. He raised his rifle. But Morales fired first. A single bullet, right through the visor. Malone collapsed. It was over. The building was cleared. The bomb squad disarmed the C4. And for the first time in 4 years, Olivia Harris walked into the sunlight without fear. Congresswoman Nancy Rivers was arrested the next day, charged with conspiracy, abuse of power, and obstruction of justice. Her mugshot appeared on every news channel in the country. The scandal led to congressional resignations, sweeping reforms in federal oversight, and the permanent shutdown of all covert operations tied to Delta Shadow. Olivia and her daughter Ava were placed under federal protection, given new identities, and relocated to a quiet suburb where Ava could finally ride her bicycle without looking over her shoulder. Detective Marcus Voss received a federal commendation, then quietly resigned from CPD. Morales continued her work, now in a federal task force for whistleblower protection. Darius Cole's platform became a global symbol of free press. And the world moved on. But in quiet corners of government buildings, behind heavily encrypted screens, some men watched the aftermath in silence. And they took notes, because shadows never die.